Hello everyone, my name is Mini Sethi. I hope you all are staying healthy. Today we are going to talk about Ricardo Theory of Distribution. Ricardo model is the first model that explains how income is distributed in society. Ricardo model is the first model that explains how income is distributed in the society. And there are three kinds of people. First is capitalistic. Capitalists save and invest money. In return, they receive profit. Second is workers. They represent labor force and in return they receive wages. Next is landlords. Landlords are landowners. In return, they receive rent. And Ricardo model basically tells us how income, or we can say that how national output distributed among profit, wages and rent. Now we are going to talk about assumption of this theory. First assumption is law of diminishing return operates. That means as we increase supply of labor, their marginal product and average product will fall. Labor and capital are variable input. That means we can change labor and capital as per requirement. State of technical knowledge is given. All workers are paid substance wage rate. Substance wage rate is lowest wage rate that allow workers to survive only. Last is profit is necessary for economic growth. Now we will clearly understand this theory with the help of this diagram. In this diagram on x-axis we have labor and y-axis we have wages, rent, profit and output. This APL curve represent average product of labor. This MPL curve represent marginal product of labor. Average product of labor means output per unit of labor. Marginal product of labor means a change in output resulting from change in labor. In this diagram, you can see OP is our total output. Now we will distribute this output among rent, wages and profit. First of all, we are going to see part of rent. Difference between average product of labor and marginal product of labor will be called rent per unit of labor. Difference between average product of labor and marginal product of labor will be called rent per unit of labor. In this diagram, you can see Km is marginal product of labor and Lm is average product of labor, and difference between average product of labor and marginal product of labor is Lk. So this Lk will be called our per unit of rent. Please listen carefully. In this diagram, Lm is average product of labor, Km is marginal product of labor. When we minus Km from Lm, remaining part Lk, this Lk will be called rent per unit of labor. As we know, Lk is equal to PR. This rectangle PLRK will be called our total rent. Now we are going to talk about part of wages. As we earlier discussed in assumption, all workers are paid substance wage rate. This line represents our substance wage rate. That's why our per unit wages are TM. You can see this T point touches this line, substance wage rate line. So Tm is our per unit of wages and Tm is equal to OW, and this rectangle WTMO represent our total wage bill. So here we see this part represent our rent, this part represent our total wage bill, and remaining RKTW part represent our profit. So here we will see how we distribute our OP, total national output, or we can say total national income, among rent, profit and wages. This is our Ricardo theory, which basically describe how we distribute our national income or national output among rent, wages and profit. Now, capitalists are influenced by their profit. As a result, they will invest more, production will increase and labor supply will also increase. Now, you can see labor supply increase from OM to OM1. As labor supply increase, obviously wage bill also increase. Now, they have to pay so many employees. That's why wage bill also increase. Now, per unit wages are T1, M1 and total wages are this W T1, M1, O. Now this part represent our total wage bill. Earlier this part was represent a total bill, but now this part represent total bill which is higher than earlier. So this total part W T1, M1, O represent our wage bill. Obviously now rent will also increase. As we know, rent is difference between average product of labor and marginal product of labor. T1, M1 is average marginal product of labor and K2 M1 is average product of labor. Difference between marginal and average product of labor is this, K2 T1. So here you can see this part T1 M1 represent wages and this K2 T1 part represent rent. So where is profit? So this K2 T1 part represent our rent. T1 M1 part represent our wage bill. Where is profit? At this T1 point our profit becomes 0 because our rent increase, our wage bill increase plus average product and marginal product of labor fall. You can see average product and marginal product of labor is falling. As a result our profit becomes 0. If profit becomes 0, that means capitalistic will not invest. So now our economy has come to stationary state where new production is not possible. Now with the help of one more diagram, we will clearly understand this theory. In this diagram, on x-axis we have labor and y-axis we have output. Now we distribute this output among three parts, wages, rent and profit. This net product curve represent our profit, this substance line represent our wages, this OK curve represent our rent. This part represent rent, this part represent profit and this line represent our wages. Initially our wage bill is ON and the profit are TO, remaining part belong to rent. As the labor supply increase from ON to OM, wage bill increase from ON to CM and profit reduce from TO to SC. And slowly as labor supply increase more OM to OR, our profit becomes 0. At this L point our profit becomes 0. Now our output divided among two parts. KL represent rent and LR represent our wage bill. So this is all about Ricardo theory of distribution. I think you got it and thank you so much for watching this video. Bye. Take care.